The dream that got away. Why Manchester United cannot get their perfect midfielder. Welcome to United News, your most trusted and reliable source for everything Manchester United. While other websites give you rumors and speculation, we bring you facts and deep analysis. While others focus on clickbait headlines, we focus on what really matters for our beloved club. That is why thousands of United fans choose United News as their #1 destination for Manchester United coverage that you can actually trust. Today we have a story that will break the hearts of every United fan who has been dreaming of the perfect midfielder to transform our team. What happens when you find exactly the player you need, but you simply cannot get him? What happens when money talks louder than ambition? And what does this mean for United's future? The crushing reality that United fans must face. Imagine finding your dream house. It has everything you want, the perfect location, the right size, beautiful design, and it would solve all your problems. But then you discover that the owner wants 10 times what it is worth and refuses to negotiate. That is exactly what Manchester United are facing with Adam Wharton. The 21-year-old Crystal Palace midfielder is not just another target for United. According to sources close to the club, he is the target. He is the player that Ruben Amorim and his coaching staff believe could transform United's entire approach to football. But here's the crushing blow that every United fan needs to prepare for. Crystal Palace want more than £80 million for a player they bought for just £22 million barely 18 months ago. And even worse, they are not really interested in selling at any price. This is the story of United's perfect midfielder, the astronomical price tag that has ended their dreams, and what it means for the club's future. Who is Adam Wharton and why does United want him so badly? The rise of a special talent. Before we talk about price tags and transfer drama, let us understand exactly who Adam Wharton is and why United are so desperate to sign him. Adam Wharton is not your typical 21-year-old footballer. While most players his age are still trying to establish themselves, Wharton is already being compared to some of Europe's best midfielders. His journey started at Crystal Palace's local rivals. Well, not really rivals, but you get the idea. Wharton joined Blackburn Rovers when he was just 6 years old. Think about that for a moment. While other kids were playing video games, young Adam was already learning the basics of football at a professional club. For 15 years, Wharton worked his way through Blackburn's youth system. This was not a player who jumped from club to club or took shortcuts. He stayed loyal, worked hard, and developed his skills properly. When he finally signed his first professional contract with Blackburn in February 2022, it marked the beginning of one of the most remarkable rise stories in recent English football. From Championship star to England international. What happened next was extraordinary, even by football standards. Within 6 months of signing his professional contract, Wharton was not just playing for Blackburn's first team, he was dominating the championship. His debut came in August 2022 in an EFL Cup match against Hartlepool United. Just 17 days later, he was making his championship debut as a substitute against Stoke City. For days after that, he earned player of the match in his first championship start against Blackpool. This was not luck or a fluke. Wharton was showing qualities that experienced coaches recognize immediately. Composure under pressure, excellent passing range, tactical intelligence, and the ability to control games from deep positions. By October 2022, he was scoring goals and providing assists regularly. By May 2023, he had become one of Blackburn's most important players. And by February 2024, Crystal Palace had seen enough to pay £22 million for his services. But the story gets even better. Within 4 months of joining Palace, Wharton had earned his first England call-up. Think about that timeline from championship player to England international in less than 2 years. What makes Wharton special? So what exactly makes Adam Wharton so special that United consider him their dream target? First, his technical ability is outstanding. Wharton can receive the ball under pressure, keep possession in tight spaces, and find passes that other players cannot see. In modern football, these skills are essential for any top-level midfielder. Second, his tactical intelligence sets him apart from most players his age. Wharton understands when to press, when to hold his position, when to make forward runs, and when to drop back and help his defense. This football IQ usually takes years to develop, but Wharton seems to have it naturally. Third, his composure is remarkable for such a young player. Whether he is playing against Manchester City or in front of 90,000 people at Wembley, Wharton never looks nervous or rushed. He plays with the confidence of a veteran. Fourth, his versatility makes him incredibly valuable. Wharton can play as a holding midfielder, a box-to-box midfielder, or even in a more advanced role. This flexibility gives coaches many options and makes him perfect for different tactical systems. Finally, his leadership qualities are already evident despite his young age. Teammates look to him for guidance, and he has already become a key player for both club and country. Why United need exactly this type of player? To understand why United are so desperate to sign Wharton, we need to look at Ruben Amorim's tactical system and what type of player it requires. Amorim wants to play high-pressing, possession-based football. This means United need midfielders who can do several things extremely well. They need to press opponents high up the pitch and win the ball back quickly when they lose possession. They need to keep the ball under pressure and make quick, accurate passes to maintain possession. They need to read the game well and make the right decisions in different situations. Most importantly, they need to have the physical and mental strength to maintain this intensity for 90 minutes across a long season with many competitions. When United scouts analyzed what type of midfielder would be perfect for this system, everything pointed to Adam Wharton. He has all the technical skills, the tactical understanding, the physical attributes, and the mental strength that Amorim's system demands. This is why United scouts have labeled him as their perfect target. This is not about signing a good player. This is about finding the exact piece that would complete their tactical puzzle. The £80 million problem. Palace's impossible demands. Now we come to the heart of the problem that has crushed United's dreams. Crystal Palace's valuation of Adam Wharton. According to reliable sources, Palace would want north of £80 million just to start negotiations for Wharton. Let that sink in for a moment. £80 million for a player they signed for £22 million just 18 months ago. To put this in perspective, £80 million would make Wharton one of the most expensive midfielders in football history. It would be more than United paid for Paul Pogba, more than Chelsea paid for Enzo Fernandez, and similar to what Barcelona paid for Philippe Coutinho. Is Wharton worth £80 million? That is a question every football fan will have their own opinion about. But the more important question is, can United afford to pay that much for one player, especially when they have other needs across the squad? Why Palace are asking for so much? Before we criticize Crystal Palace for their high demands, we need to understand their perspective and why they are asking for such a massive fee. First, Wharton has already become a key player for Palace despite being only 21 years old. Losing him would create a huge hole in their midfield that would be very expensive and difficult to fill. Second, Palace have already sold Ebereki Eze to Arsenal for £60 million this summer. Losing another star player would seriously damage their chances of achieving their goals for the season. Third, Palace have learned from experience that selling your best players without proper planning usually leads to problems. They have seen other clubs struggle after losing key players too quickly. Fourth, Wharton is young, English, and already an international player. Players with this profile always command premium prices in the transfer market, especially when English clubs are buying from other English clubs. Fifth, Palace know that United really want Wharton. When clubs know you desperately need a particular player, they can set whatever price they want and wait to see if you are willing to pay it. The additional complications. But the £80 million price tag is not even the biggest obstacle. Palace have made it clear that they would want a like-for-like replacement before they would even consider selling Wharton. What does this mean? It means Palace would need to sign another midfielder of similar quality and potential before they would let Wharton leave. Given how rare players like Wharton are, finding such a replacement would be extremely difficult and expensive. Palace manager Oliver Glasner has also made his position clear to the club board. He does not want to lose any more key players this summer. From a manager's perspective, this makes perfect sense. How can you build a successful team when your best players keep getting sold? So even if United were willing to pay £80 million, Palace would still need to find a replacement and convince their manager to approve the sale. This makes any deal extremely complicated and unlikely. United's frustrating position. The perfect player at the wrong price. For Manchester United's management and coaching staff, the Wharton situation represents everything that is frustrating about the modern transfer market. They have done their homework perfectly. They have identified exactly the type of player they need, they have found someone who fits their tactical system perfectly, and they have a target who could transform their team for the next decade. But despite all this careful planning and analysis, they simply cannot make the deal happen because of financial realities. United have already invested heavily in other positions this summer. They have signed Matheus Cunha, Brian Bumo, Benjamin Sesko, and are working on the Sen Lamens deal. These signings have cost significant money, and there are limits to how much any club can spend in one transfer window. Even for a club like United, spending £80 million on one player represents a huge financial commitment. When you add wages, agent fees, and other costs, the total investment could easily exceed £100 million. Financial fair play considerations. Modern football is not just about having money, it is about spending within financial fair play regulations. These rules limit how much clubs can spend relative to their income, and they prevent clubs from simply buying their way to success. United need to be careful about their spending to avoid penalties from UEFA and the Premier League. This means they cannot just spend unlimited amounts on transfers, even if they have the money available. The club also needs to maintain financial flexibility for future transfer windows. If they spend everything on Wharton this summer, they might not be able to strengthen other positions when opportunities arise. The timing problem. Another frustrating aspect of this situation is the timing. United have been interested in Wharton for months, but Palace's position has only become clear recently. The transfer window is closing soon, which means United have limited time to find alternative targets if they decide not to pursue Wharton further. This puts pressure on United's recruitment team to either pay Palace's asking price or quickly identify and pursue other midfield targets. Neither option is ideal at this stage of the window. Palace's smart business strategy. Learning from past mistakes. While United fans might be frustrated with Crystal Palace's stance, we have to admire their business strategy. Palace have learned valuable lessons from their own past experiences and from watching other clubs make mistakes. Too many clubs have sold their best players too cheaply and then struggled to replace them properly. Palace are determined not to make the same mistake. They have seen clubs like Brighton and Brentford get excellent fees for their star players by standing firm on valuations and refusing to be rushed into sales. Building for the future. Palace's refusal to sell Wharton is not just about money. It is about building a competitive team that can achieve their own ambitions. The club wants to finish in the top half of the Premier League table and potentially qualify for European competitions in the future. Keeping players like Wharton is essential for achieving these goals. Palace also understand that having a core of talented young players creates a positive cycle. Good players attract other good players, and success on the pitch leads to more commercial opportunities off it. The ease factor. The sale of Ebereki Eze to Arsenal for £60 million has given Palace both money and motivation. They have the funds to invest in other areas of their squad, which reduces the financial pressure to sell Wharton. At the same time, losing Eze has made Palace more determined to keep their other star players. They do not want to become a club that simply develops players for bigger teams to buy. What this means for United's midfield plans. Back to the drawing board. With Wharton looking increasingly unlikely to join United this summer, the club's recruitment team faces a difficult challenge. Do they try to find alternative targets who might not be perfect fits for Amorim's system but could still improve the team? Do they wait until next summer to try again for Wharton? Or do they look for completely different solutions to their midfield needs? Each option has advantages and disadvantages, and the decision will have long-term implications for the club's development. Alternative targets. If United decide to pursue other midfield targets, they will need to move quickly given the limited time remaining in the transfer window. The challenge is finding players who have similar qualities to Wharton but might be available at more reasonable prices. This is not easy because players with Wharton's profile are rare and usually expensive. United might need to consider older players who could provide a short-term solution while they continue developing their own young midfielders. Alternatively, they might look for players from different leagues who could adapt to the Premier League. Academy solutions. Another option for United is to give more opportunities to their own young midfielders. The club has invested heavily in their academy over recent years, and there might be players ready to step up to first-team level. This approach would save money and align with the club's long-term strategy of developing homegrown talent. However, it also carries risks because young players need time to develop and might not be ready for the immediate pressures of playing for United. The waiting game. United might decide that Wharton is worth waiting for, even if they cannot sign him this summer. Player situations change quickly in football, and what seems impossible today might become possible next year. Wharton's contract situation, Palace's circumstances, or the player's own ambitions might change over the next 12 months. By maintaining their interest and staying patient, United might eventually get their man. However, waiting also carries risks. Other clubs might develop interest in Wharton, his price might continue to increase, or United's own needs might change. The broader implications for football. The new transfer market reality. The Wharton situation reflects broader changes in the football transfer market that affect all clubs, not just United. Smaller clubs are no longer willing to sell their best players cheaply. Television money, improved commercial deals, and better business management have given these clubs more financial security and bargaining power. This is generally good for football because it creates more competitive balance and prevents the biggest clubs from simply buying all the best players. However, it also makes it more difficult for clubs like United to strengthen their squads. The English premium. The fact that Wharton is English adds a significant premium to his price, especially when English clubs are negotiating with each other. English players are valuable because of homegrown player rules that require clubs to have certain numbers of locally developed players in their squads. This creates additional demand and drives up prices. For United, this means they might need to look more seriously at players from other countries who could provide similar quality at lower prices. Player development versus immediate success. The Wharton case also highlights the tension between developing young players and achieving immediate success. Palace deserve credit for developing Wharton and maximizing his value. They took a young player from the Championship and helped him become an England international within 18 months. However, this success now makes it almost impossible for Palace to keep him long-term if bigger clubs are willing to pay enormous fees. This creates a difficult balance for clubs trying to build sustainable success. What United fans should expect. Managing disappointment. United fans who were excited about the possibility of signing Wharton need to prepare for disappointment. The financial realities make this transfer extremely unlikely, at least in the current window. This is frustrating because Wharton represents exactly the type of player United need, and missing out on him might delay the team's development under Amorim. However, fans should remember that building a successful team is about more than just signing individual players, no matter how good they are. Alternative approaches. United's failure to sign Wharton might force the club to be more creative in their approach to squad building. They might focus more on developing their own young players, look for hidden gems in smaller leagues, or find different tactical solutions that do not require a player exactly like Wharton. Sometimes constraints can lead to better long-term solutions than simply spending massive amounts on obvious targets. Long-term perspective. United fans should also remember that this is just one transfer window in what will hopefully be a long and successful period under Amorim. Missing out on Wharton this summer does not mean United cannot achieve their goals. It might just mean they need to find different ways to get there. The club's overall strategy and long-term planning are more important than any individual transfer, no matter how perfect that player might seem. The Crystal Palace perspective. Smart business or lack of ambition? From Crystal Palace's perspective, keeping Wharton makes perfect sense both financially and competitively. They have a young, talented player who is only going to get better and more valuable over time. Why sell him now when they could potentially get even more money in the future? Palace also have their own ambitions. They want to establish themselves as a consistent top-half Premier League club and potentially qualify for European competitions. Keeping players like Wharton is essential for achieving these goals. Selling him would send a message that Palace are content to remain a selling club rather than building something bigger. The risk of keeping him. However, there are also risks in Palace's approach. Player valuations can go down as well as up, especially if injuries or poor form affect performance. Wharton might also become unhappy if he feels Palace are preventing him from taking the next step in his career. Unhappy players rarely perform at their best level. There is also the financial risk that comes with keeping such a valuable asset. If Wharton gets seriously injured, Palace could lose tens of millions in potential transfer value. Building a sustainable model. Palace's stance on Wharton reflects their broader strategy of becoming a more sustainable and ambitious club. They are no longer content to simply survive in the Premier League by selling their best players whenever bigger clubs come calling. Instead, they want to build a squad capable of competing for European qualification and potentially winning domestic cup competitions. This approach requires keeping talented players like Wharton, even if it means turning down enormous transfer offers. The impact on Ruben Amorim's plans. Tactical adjustments. With Wharton unavailable, Amorim will need to adjust his tactical plans and find different solutions for United's midfield needs. This might mean changing the formation, giving different roles to existing players, or finding alternative ways to achieve the same tactical objectives. Great managers adapt their systems to the players available rather than insisting on perfect fits for their preferred approach. Squad development. The failure to sign Wharton might actually benefit some of United's current midfield players who will now get more opportunities to prove themselves. Players like Kobbie Mainoo might benefit from having less competition and more chances to establish themselves in the first team. Sometimes constraints force managers to develop players they might otherwise overlook, leading to unexpected success stories. Transfer strategy lessons. This situation will also provide valuable lessons for United's transfer strategy in future windows. They might need to identify targets earlier, develop better relationships with selling clubs, or find more creative deal structures that work for both parties. Learning from setbacks like this can make United's recruitment more effective in the long run. Looking ahead, what happens next? The immediate future. With time running out in the current transfer window, United need to make quick decisions about their midfield plans. They could make a last-ditch attempt to meet Palace's demands for Wharton, pursue alternative targets, or decide to stick with their current squad until the next window. Each option has significant implications for the team's prospects in the coming season. Next summer's window. If United decide to wait, next summer's transfer window could provide another opportunity to pursue Wharton. By then, the situation might have changed in ways that make a deal more possible. Palace might be more willing to sell, Wharton might push harder for a move, or United might have more financial flexibility. However, other clubs might also develop serious interest in Wharton by then, potentially creating a bidding war that drives his price even higher. Long-term planning. The Wharton situation highlights the importance of long-term planning in modern football transfers. United might need to start identifying and tracking potential targets years in advance, building relationships with selling clubs and players' representatives before concrete negotiations begin. This approach requires patience and careful planning, but it might be more effective than trying to complete deals at the last minute. The bottom line for United fans. The Adam Wharton transfer saga perfectly illustrates both the opportunities and challenges facing Manchester United in the modern transfer market. On one hand, United's scouting and analysis have identified exactly the right type of player to improve their team. Wharton would be a perfect fit for Amorim's tactical system and could help transform United's approach to football. On the other hand, the financial realities of modern football mean that even clubs like United cannot always get the players they want, especially when selling clubs hold strong bargaining positions. For United fans, this situation requires both disappointment and understanding. It is disappointing to miss out on a player who could make such a big difference to the team. But it is also understandable that United cannot pay any price demanded, especially given financial fair play considerations and the need to strengthen multiple positions. The most important thing is that United continue to make smart decisions that benefit the club in the long run. Sometimes this means walking away from deals that do not make financial sense, even for players you really want. Building a successful team is about more than just signing individual stars. It is about creating a balanced squad, developing young players, improving team chemistry, and implementing effective tactical systems. United can still achieve their goals without Adam Wharton, though it might require different approaches and more patience from supporters. The club's overall direction under Amorim remains positive, and missing out on one target, however perfect he might seem, should not derail the broader project of returning United to the top level of football. Stay connected with Unite United News. Thank you for reading our comprehensive analysis of Manchester United's pursuit of Adam Wharton and why this dream transfer has become impossible. This is exactly why Unite United News exists, to give you the complete picture behind every major story affecting our beloved club. We do not just report what happens. We explain why it happens and what it means for United's future. While other sources focus on sensational headlines and unrealistic speculation, we provide the detailed analysis and context that serious United fans deserve. When transfer stories break, when tactical changes happen, when you need to understand what is really going on at Manchester United, this is where you come for answers you can trust. Make sure to stay tuned as we continue following this story and all the other developments that will shape United's season. The transfer window might be closing, but the analysis and insights never stop at Unite United News. Keep supporting United, keep believing in the process, and keep coming back here for the most reliable and thorough coverage of everything that matters at Old Trafford. Together, we will follow every twist and turn of this incredible journey as United work to return to the top of English and European football. United we stand. United we analyze every detail that could affect our club's future. The story continues, and we will be here to cover every chapter.